Gentlemen, and a warm welcome to today's webinar, which is brought to you by SharedServicesLink in association with Synertrade. We are looking today at 7 ways to prevent supply chain disaster in 2025. My name is Susie West. I'm the founder and CEO at SharedServicesLink, and today I'm being joined by Evelyne Martinez. She is the VP Purchasing at Mersen, and Anaïs Perez, who is Head of Product Management at Synertrade. So great to have Evelyne and Anaïs on the line, and it's great to have you on the line. Please make sure you get the most out of your time here today. So that means really making sure that your questions are answered. I know that you've come here with some big questions concerning this topic. Post those questions through to me in the Q&A section, and I will put those questions verbally to our speakers in the last few minutes of the webinar. Also, from the housekeeping perspective, we will be sharing these slides after the webinar, so feel free to take notes, but also just bear in mind that we are sharing the recording and the slides after the webinar. And on that point, I'm sure there are going to be plenty of colleagues within your organization who would like to have access to this material. Do feel free to forward this information on to them. And please, we always welcome you sharing the word on SharedServicesLink webinars. So please feel free to promote the webinars internally as well across your other stakeholders in other functions. Right, let's talk about the context for today. 2025 seems to be a year of overlapping crises, which seems to be affecting supply chains for a lot of organizations. There have been environmental catastrophes, geopolitical tensions, cyber attacks, and employee strikes. So anyone working in the field of supply chain management, logistics, procurement will be feeling all of this, and there will be concerns, and there will be a need and a kind of a key drive to want to mitigate your risks as much as possible, making sure that your processes are set up to mitigate risks and that your systems are there to mitigate risks. We just have, we're 9 months into the year, and we can see that we have a few key examples of a number of organizations that have been challenged with, for example, cyber attacks have really hit UK retailers in recent months. Power outages in Spain that disrupted telecommunications and transportation and banking services. There's an unusually high congestion rate at ports in Northern Europe at the moment. And also we're well aware of the ongoing crisis in the Red Sea and how this is meaning that cargo ships are having to go the long route around the Cape of Good Hope, which is adding an extra 10 days on average to each voyage. So let me ask a couple of poll questions before I hand over to our first speaker, Anaïs. So this should be coming up on your screen now. So how integrated is your technology stack with your organization's risk management today? So if you could participate in that for me, hopefully that's come up on your screen. Let me just make sure that you've got it. Would you say that no technology you don't have any technology to manage the risk today? Maybe you have some tools in place, but they're inconsistent tools. They don't necessarily talk to each other, and maybe they're siloed across the organization. Maybe tools are centralized and information is shared. Or finally, would you say that you're in a situation where your tools are fully integrated across the organization and you're using advanced analytics and AI for predictions? So which one of those would you say represents your situation as far as your technology stack is concerned to help you with risk management? Closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. Let's have a look at the results. coming up on your screen now. So we can see that no one on the line has the tools that are fully integrated across the organization, providing advanced analytics or predictive information. Instead, there's no real technology to manage risks today, or there are some tools in place, but they're siloed or disconnected. Or some of you are saying that there are some tools and they are centralized and information is shared. So thank you. That gives us a read as to who we've got on the line today. And a second poll question, please, coming up on your screen. Do you have a source to pay solution in place today? Would you say, yes, we do, we're happy with it? Yes, we do, but it's underutilized. We're looking to implement one in the next 24 months, or no, we don't have any plans today. So if you could participate in that one for me. Do you already have a source to pay solution in place today? Yes, we do, and we're happy with it. No, yes, we do, but it's underutilized. We're looking to implement one in the next 24 months, or no, we have no plans for the time being. Closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. Let's have a look at the results there. So, okay, thank you for that. A handful of you have a solution in place, and the majority of you do not right now. Okay, well, now I'd like to hand over to Anaïs. Over to you, please, Anaïs.
Thank you, Susie, and welcome to everyone. So if you don't know Synertrade, we're a procurement technology vendor, and what is of great interest in this subject to us is that we have seen in the last years a rise in interest in supplier management. So typically, we have procurement teams in front in the past that were interested in either cutting cost or gaining some efficiency, so time savings when looking for technology. So we had so much interest that we decided to measure it. And last year we've seen that nearly 1/4 of companies that were showing an interest in Synertrade were driven by the need to prevent risks. So collaborate with their suppliers and prevent those risks that are arising that we'll talk about now in 1 minute. So when we looked at the risks that were facing those companies, let's say that we could put them into two big buckets. So the first ones would be the less predictable, let's say. So what we really understand as supply chain disasters, so natural environmental events, geopolitical, socioeconomics, logistics, transportation, and technological and cyber. So those are the ones that you absolutely cannot foresee, you cannot anticipate unless it's geopolitical, socioeconomic. You can feel it, but you cannot tell what is going to happen. And then the second big one are the new regulations. So what we understand as a risk in new regulation is that you have a new industry standard. Let's take DORA, let's take the sustainability regulations that are popping around the world. And not meeting those regulations is posing a risk for the company, so non-compliance risk. So if you stand by and you do nothing, you face the risk of either you have fines or you fall behind in terms of your positioning on the market, so compared to your competitors. So what does it mean for companies? There's a study that showed that supply chain disaster had an impact of between 3 and 5% in expense increase on companies, plus a 7% decrease in sales. So this is huge for companies. That's affecting the top and the bottom line. And if you think that sometimes some disasters, some events are not affecting your companies, let's then look at some macro figures. So this is really showing that we are all somehow all the companies are touched by those supply chain disasters. So first one, Susie mentioned it earlier. So we have the Red Sea crisis, which supposed disrupted 6 billion weekly during the crisis. Then we have a 1.6 trillion impact due to the Russia-Ukraine war that has been lost over 3 years. So, you know, on those, you have several industries that are impacted more or less, but at the end of the year, every company has been somehow affected. So how much have you lost? How much does it cost to your company to face those disruptions? Depends on the company, but everyone is facing it. So we can see it at macro level. And the last one that I will mention is the US and China trade war, which has supposed a 15% cut in rare minerals. So that affects technology, that affects the energy, the automotive sector. And we can see that when we want to have a lesser reliance on some companies, so if we want to rely less on the petrochemical industry, we still have some risks if we go to electric cars. So we're never risk-free. So that's a big takeaway from how even the governments, when they try to manage risk, you never are out of a threat. And when we're looking at the future, a study has shown that 60% of organizations are expecting those disruptions to go at least until 2030. So this has increased in pace. This has a breadth of worldwide. So these are disruptions that are affecting really every single company. But without wanting to be alarmist, I will get to my conclusion here. So, because everybody is affected by those risks and those disruptions, there is also an opportunity. That means that if you're able to better handle those risks than your competitors, you have an opportunity to rise and to be the best on your market. So. Another study here shows that between 40 and 60% of innovation opportunities are created with suppliers. So if you're able to manage your suppliers, your supply chain in an efficient way, even if you cannot forecast those supply chain disasters, even if you have unpredictability, you will always have unpredictability there. Your organization is at least set for success in case of those disruptions arising. So now I will hand over to Evelyne, whom we've been working for years, and I think that's a great case where we show that when procurement puts the resources, the will to manage those disruptions and the technology coupled with it, it can really make good results. So over to you, Evelyne.
Thank you, Anaïs. Hello, everyone. I'm very pleased to participate to this webinar and share my experience. So during the call, I will introduce Mersen, give more information about our organization in procurement, share major issues we had to tackle, and my view on how to prevent supply chain disaster. Few words about Mersen. So Mersen, we operate in 33 countries with around 7,500 employees to generate 1.2 billion euros sales revenue. We are organized in two segments. One, advanced materials, where we produce materials like isostatic graphite or systems like heat exchangers or components like bushes, clippings, current collection, and so on. The second segment, electrical power, we produce fuses, busbar, capacitors, cooling devices, and so on. Our company is committed to corporate responsibility, so we are silver in the rating with EcoVadis, and we are rated A with MSCI. Our procurement organization, we are decentralized, operating through nearly 55 sites, where each of the sites own its PNL. So we have a challenge of a very fragmented system with multiple categories, subcategories, and a large number of suppliers, 12,000 suppliers. For managing these supplier base, we have limited resources, around 100 people, split between purchasers and key category managers. So you can imagine that we need to be efficient to do a good job. What were the major issues to tackle? First, to gain visibility on data and information across our entire supply chain. Second was to develop standards and compliance in a decentralized organization. And the third one, consolidate and de-risk the supplier. So having supplier relationship management software was really an enabler to meet and these issues and solve them in a more efficient way. So when we look at the way to looking at the different way, the first one for us was visibility and transparency. When we look at our organization, using the SRM was a way to consolidate the spend from the multiple ERP we have, giving us the ability to know where we spend, with who we spend, for what we spend, and being able to deep dive depending on our requirements, our needs, from category to an item, country by site of supplier. So this ability was really a starting point and a foundation for our purchasing roadmap to manage our supplier base and manage our risk in our supply chain. The second way was to manage supplier relationship. You can imagine that managing 12,000 suppliers complicated. There's no real sense. So for the ones who are familiar with the matrix, the tragic matrix, we have categorized our suppliers, considering the ones that are strategic, critical, leverage, and the others. Our objective is really to concentrate our efforts where the major risk of the risk could be. So we are concentrating on the strategic, critical leverage suppliers, and this represents 1,800 suppliers. And all our organization work to focus on these suppliers that can impact the product or that can impact our processes to produce. The third way, this is to manage ethics and compliance. No business without ethics and compliance. So along our supply chain, we have established different approaches in our SRM. First, to make sure that our suppliers share our values. So we ask them to sign purchasing charter. We ask them also to update all the information related to the certificate. And we are also working with them to make sure that all the documentation or all the compliance needed for regulation is also updated and available in our platform. So this can be reached, can be CMRT for the one CMRT is conflict minerals. So all aspects related to regulation or compliance, we work to develop full visibility and communication with our suppliers through our SRM platform. Fourth way, of course, managing risk. So in our platform, we have identified, determined different criteria to manage risk. Can be related to market, to technology, to the supplier himself, to geopolitical risk, to tier 2, tier 3. So we have set the type of risk that we should cover, and for this risk, we have an internal questionnaire risk assessment where we look how and where we see risk across our supply chain on the 1,800 suppliers that we have identified. Of course, these risks evolve. This is why also we are working now to include cybersecurity risk or climate change risk in our assessment. Step by step, we continue to look at where our risk could be. And for an example, you were at the time of the war in Ukraine, we discovered that some of our suppliers were impacted directly in their supply on raw materials coming from Russia or coming from Ukraine. We were not at all in the idea or identifying this kind of risk. So this is why we have included in our process the identification of the tier 2 or the tier 3 risk with our tier 1 suppliers that can impact directly our product. Of course, based on this assessment and where we see our major risk, we are working on mitigation plan. This mitigation plan can be directly with the suppliers or can be underlay with our R&D organization, for example. So managing risk in the supply chain and also managing risk, corporate social responsibility risk. So I told you that Mersen is committed to this approach. We have also developed in our SRM a questionnaire where we can tackle social, ethic, environment, safety, supplier relation, regulation, compliance, and see what is the scoring of our supplier and in which area we could have a supplier that could be at risk. And we have a scoring for each of the suppliers. So based on this scoring, we establish discussion, visits, and in some cases also audits on the field to make sure that the risk identified could be mitigated or not, but at least to know more. So moving forward, the fifth way is of course also to manage supplier performance. This is also something where we are working in our SRM to quantify, assess operational performance by quality, delivery lead time, but also financial with our suppliers. And CSR is also included in this overall supplier performance. And through the system, we can also share the scorecard with the major suppliers and work on metrics with a plan when poor suppliers or poor performers need to improve. The sixth way for us is diversification. So we are working in our SRM for doing sourcing standards. We have also an e-auction module. And the most important, this is that we have established a sourcing roadmap, making sure that we diversify our suppliers, that we avoid to have also part also of our risk analysis, that we diversify the geography that we diversified the distribution network to mitigate the risk, and especially currently some geopolitical risk, especially on some exchange between regions that can be in tension, or to avoid future risk that we identify on a geopolitical context. We have also a strategy where we push and we have a purchasing policy to develop local and regional supplier base. So today we have more than 80% of our spend that is localized in each of the regions. So this is also a way for us to make sure that we can mitigate any potential risk. I am talking about also identifying market standards. And why? Because I can give you an example where a few years ago, one supplier told us, we are going to stop this product produced for. And working and discussing with the supplier, we discovered that this product was produced only for Mersen. We find a solution with the supplier because he had a standard product that could meet our requirements. But before this event, we never worked to identify that the specification we had were produced only for us, and that a standard was also possible. So the diversification, this is also working closely with the supplier, understanding their process, understanding their product range, their standard, and how our product position in their roadmap and in their production. So it was also part of the work we have done, especially on all the suppliers that can impact our product directly. The seventh way is information and data management. So in our SRM, we are also working to consolidate visit reports, audit reports, developing more market intelligence. And of course, all this data cannot be available for everyone. So this is why also we are working through the SRM or through our SharePoint on how we need to protect and keep confidential what should be confidential. Data quality is important, and this is why also I have in my team a data team working in the organization for developing data quality and data accuracy, and making sure that all the processes for managing data are well established, well understood to continue to improve. We are not yet too much developed, connect with external base data. At this stage, this is a choice, and of course it can evolve. We have potential alert, and we are also working to investigate AI, and especially how AI can support our organization for more efficiency and also for having the alerts and the information organized on a better way. So in conclusion, agility and flexibility are the most important. Risk evolves. Recently, we all experimented tariffs. In our side, we have been able to identify short-lived impact and the potential alternatives in place to mitigate this impact for the business. So you never can predict everything. So our ability to be responsive in assessing the event and mitigating it as quickly as possible is the most important. So now, back to Suzy for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you, Evelyne. And let's take a poll question, please, coming up on your screen now. What kind of, okay, I'm going to come on to that shortly. No, actually, I'll ask that question right now. What kind of follow-up would you like after this webinar? Would you like to have a call with an expert like our presenters today? Would you like to have a demo of the technology that can help you? Would you like a demo of the technology as soon as possible? Or would you like more information about supply chain risk? If you could tick the box most appropriate to your wants and needs. And I think we've got some questions coming through, but also, Anaïs, we're handing over to you, aren't you, so that you can demo some of the technology that can help.
We'll do a small demonstration. Yeah. So the question is still valid.
Yeah, great. So there are a good number of questions that have come in regarding how AI can help. So let me just move this forward, and then you can share your screen with us and move to a demo, please.
All right. All right, so now you should be able to see my screen.
Great.
Yeah. All right, so we've talked about gaining some transparency, some visibility. Evelyne mentioned it as the first way to manage supply chain disasters. So here is typically where we see companies start. So it's in gaining that visibility into their spend. This is mainly a problem when you have, like in the case of Evelyne, a lot of organizations that are working in a decentralized way. So when you have a group that has several ERPs, that's more often the case. And this is where having a procurement platform where you can have the full visibility of all your spend is going to let you manage those dependency risks. So here, typically, we're going to see where we have the main spend concentration in terms of geographies, in terms of suppliers, what are the patterns of the spend patterns in terms of timing. So when do we spend more? Do we have a trend that is visible over the years? And do we optimize the way we spend in terms of how much is each of the operations? So with that simple dashboard, we can start answering quite a few questions. Then, and here we stay at the very high level. So we're going to look at the supplier risk. So when we know the spend, where we spend, we can start also managing the risk of the suppliers. So Evelyne mentioned some. We have mentioned also some at the beginning. You have environmental risk, you have cybersecurity, you have financials, you have governance, you have social. So you have quality risks. So you have quite a few risks, and this again at management level that gives you that view over which are my most critical risks, where do I have the most strength in terms of how my suppliers are performing, and where are my main weaknesses. And again, here you can very quickly prioritize who you're going to focus on by checking what's the highest risk levels and where is my higher spend. So where do I have the major impact potentially? And with those data, you can start saying, okay, now I have the overview, and we're going to start working on how we work with each of those suppliers. So as Evelyne showed it earlier too, you don't work with all the suppliers. So you focused on your most critical suppliers. So either you spend more with them, or they are providing very critical categories to your business. So that can be several criteria, but you shortlist which suppliers. And when you have those suppliers, we provide a view into those suppliers. How are we going to address that specific relationship? So you will have some suppliers where you want to innovate because they are outperforming. You have a relationship with since a lot of time, and you see there is an opportunity there that if anything happens, this is the supplier you want to maintain a very close relationship with. And you will have those suppliers where you want to manage more the risk in a preventative way. So here, typically we have a supplier 360 where we'll be able to see very high level, zooming in on the supplier. What are the risks of this supplier? How much have I worked with the supplier in the past? So since how long? How much in terms of spend? How much have I consulted that supplier, contracted, and actually spent with that supplier? You can look at what you have right now ongoing with that supplier, so which contracts you have, and you can also view how that supplier has performed directly with your company over the past years. So it's not only a question of how are the external risks, how is the supplier doing on external risks, but also how is this supplier working directly with you. So if the supplier has very low financial risks, is very good in ESG, but then has a very high risk with you in the performance, in the quality of the products that are delivered, then you have another risk that you detect internally. So this is very important to be able to have a 360 view of those risks in terms of your supplier relationship. And this is with all that information that at the end you'll be able to take that relationship a bit further and take actions with that supplier. So we also mentioned the data. So none of this that I've just shown, the analytics, the supplier 360, is possible if you have bad data. This is the foundation of everything. So to optimize the data, we can use AI. This is one of the options to validate that the content, the data is right. And you also have data providers. So where we really gain from data providers is in the data quality and the fact that you engage much more the suppliers. So the suppliers that are going to provide answers to 200 customers are probably going to very quickly answer, not give you the right data, and give you the less data, as few data as possible. So with data providers, and we're working, for example, on financial with Dun & Bradstreet, on ESG with EcoVadis. These are just a few examples, but that gives you that expertise, knowledge of the data providers, and this is speeding up a lot the process for the supplier. So that is where you can really optimize how the data is working for you. And when you have all those strategic decisions, so you know from a management perspective what you're going to focus on, your teams are knowledgeable about what's the relationship of the supplier, what's the status, and you want to put in place the next steps. So then you need to really enable the teams to operationally being able to do these actions. So there we have that supplier hub that is an operational dashboards for the buyers, where we'll be able to focus on those evaluations that we have ongoing to measure the performance of the supplier with my company. We'll have those action plans where we'll be able to ask the supplier to co-innovate with us, or to bring a mitigation plan for some risk that we have seen. So you'll be able to drive all those events. So or surveys because you need more data, you have new regulations, and you need to ask more data to your suppliers, or you need to qualify them. So all of these buyers have to do it on and on during the whole year. So that is really an operational dashboard where you're able to follow up any of those actions that you put in place as a buyer, and where you're quickly able to detect if you have a risk of delivering that activity. So you'll be able to see how much progress is done and how much time you have, because as for any collaborative activity, this is very critical that you're able to manage several things. We know that buyers have to do more with less. So you're able to manage several things, but you're able to very easily track that, okay, it's on track and we are going to deliver on time. Then we can, the buyers, they can also focus on those suppliers that they are managing, which are at risk. And within those suppliers, we're also able to put a zoom on those that are really underperforming. So not only risk, so I mentioned it before, there is this external risk, so this sustainability, this financial aspects, and there is how the supplier is performing with me. So we can really see here that at the bottom left, we have those suppliers that are really doing badly in terms of risks and in terms of performance. So we'll want to focus on those suppliers to prioritize those actions, those next actions. And then we'll have all those tasks that we have ongoing. So again, when we have a lot of activities that are running in parallel, it's good to have one place where you have everything that is summarized on what you need to do. So if you were qualifying a supplier, or if one of your colleagues were qualifying a supplier, if you have any approval to do, if you need to evaluate a supplier, you've been invited, everything is summarized under one place. So this is very, very much more efficient operationally for the teams to work together. And then anything that needs to be triggered at this moment in time, where I say, okay, I need to launch an action plan with this supplier, I can directly do any supplier management related action from here. So that's really where we see, the difference between, first we were looking at analytics, that's the management dashboard, and then you have the strategic dashboard, and then you have the operational dashboard, because strategy without the execution is daydreaming. So the teams, it's like we say, 10% is strategy, 90% is execution. So this is really critical for companies to really go to that step where you have these risk management in place. So that's it for me. That was a brief overview. Of course, we haven't shown everything from the system. So in addition, I will just mention that briefly, that in addition, whenever anybody is using that procurement platform, that you have a lot that can happen in a procurement platform. You have sourcing, you have contracting, you have the purchases. Then you will also get those alerts that the supplier that you might be wanting to work with is at risk. So you might directly prevent that operation, or you can just warn whoever is trying to work with that supplier. So like that, again, you work on a daily basis into implementing those risk prevention actions. So if you would like a further demo, please feel free to drop us a message, and we'll be happy to. So over to you, Susie, for the
Thank you so much,
Q&A.
Anaïs. Thank you, Evelyne, and thank you, Anaïs. Great. So let's jump into questions. And the first question that I've got is, who typically leads a project like this from an AI perspective?
So
that's you, Anaïs.
Yes, so from an AI perspective, there are quite a few opportunities that are on risk management. So the first one that I very briefly mentioned that we've put in place is for compliance, for example. So you can use the AI to check that the information delivered is the right one. You can use sometimes it's data providers that are going to do the job better. Sometimes AI is going to do the job better. So it depends on what kind of compliance we're looking at. But AI can do that kind of work. Then you have AI helping you with suggestions too. So you know that the analytics that we've shown, they are predefined. So you see what you have already, the questions that you've already asked yourselves, you can answer them by those analytics. Sometimes there are those questions that you're not even asking yourself and that AI can sometimes detect. So when you see a pattern in behavior, when you see a pattern in events that are arising, AI can help with that kind of suggestions. Then you have, the next step. So you're trying to foresee what's going to happen, and then you have that prescriptive analytics that is again AI, which is the next step, which is this happens. This is what I recommend you to do. So this is again the next level of where AI and I think that in risk management, this is where we have the most opportunities to have something that really gets companies to the next level. Because if you're the first to detect, the first to be able to prevent or to at least mitigate the risk, you cannot always prevent, but at least you can minimize the risk that you have in front of you. That really can set you outside of the competition and put you as a leader on your market.
Great, thanks, Anaïs. Is the supplier tracking in the suppliers hub automatic, or does the company have to manually enter the delivery information available to them at the time?
Mm-hmm. So this is automatic. So usually you have events that have a set time frame. So you give that much time to qualify qualify suppliers. You have that much time to have an action plan put in place. So these are deadlines that you are going to put because you need the delivery date. So the delivery date, you set it, and then the tracking is automatic. So this is really updated in real time, and at any moment you can see where you're at that moment. I hope that answers the tracking, the question, sorry. And the tracking, if we were referring to the risks and the priorities. So again, this is automatic, this is real time. So any moment you look at the dashboard, this is the information, the latest information. You don't have to search in the platform.
Great. And regarding stakeholders, who do you recommend it's best to have aligned for a project like this to be successful?
So I don't know, maybe Evelyne, I don't know if you want to answer that question. If you have a success story that you would like to share.
I think collaboration is important. I think the procurement organization is the one using, so it's important that they are on board. And at the same time, it is very important to collaborate with IS. So this is really a collaboration work. And when we look at what we are doing today, this is a strong collaboration between both for selecting or for implementing new software, in any case, or new solutions.
Great. Okay, thank you so much to Evelyne and to Anaïs and to all of our viewers today. And we've got a couple of webinars coming up that are very much worth your attention, or certainly the attention of your colleagues in accounts payable, accounts receivable and tax. So please do urge them to check out our upcoming webinars. And thank you for all of your time and attention today. We look forward to welcoming you next time. All the best. Thank you and goodbye.